Hi, Jesper. It's an honor to be doing this interview with you. Thank you so much for your availability. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fine. This is Copenhagen, live from Copenhagen, and it's actually fair weather. We just came home from Lisbon yesterday. Actually, we played at the Estoril, at some kind of casino in Estoril, perfect place. But that, of course, the weather was much better, and the Sardinias was much better. But
Yeah, but the weather here is probably better still. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And Speed of Darkness is D.A.D's 13th album. In your own words, how would you describe this album to your fans?
Okay. First of all, it's definitely D.A.D. working hard in the sense that we came past, the okay, now we have to make an album kind of thing. Now we're really into the songs because we made so many songs, so we can pick and choose. I think that we, for the first time, spent maybe a year rehearsing, composing.
Yeah.
I mean, Laust, he's the guy that always goes into, hey man, shouldn't we just make the stuff at home and then meet up, once a week? And then there's no, Laust, every day, and months on end. So we've got close with each other. We know exactly where we are, and it's tough getting older. And making almost the same kind of music, you really have to find your new way of doing it. So, Speed of Darkness is diverse, and some of the songs are a little different from what you should say a D.A.D. song is, but most of the songs are very much not typical, but like high quality D.A.D.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description. And how have the reactions been so far from the people that have heard it yet?
There's not many people have heard it yet. People have been very happy, and we have 4 singles out, and people are very happy for those singles. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I mean they should be happy. I mean, from what I heard, it sounds good. I mean, you should also be proud of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Speed of Darkness is also a curious title for an album, I think. Do you want to get into the story behind that title?
Oh yeah, Speed of Darkness is of course a typical. First of all, just a typical D.A.D. title. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's true.
it's got opposing things. You cannot have speed on darkness. What are you talking about, guys? But but to be quite honest, it's what's been happening the past couple of years while we made this album. It's been like, wow, conventional war in Europe. What are we doing? So it's like definitely a take on where humanity is maybe going at the moment. And I mean, it's pretty bleak. On the other hand, it's I guess it's where humanity wants to go. I guess that's what's going on because um, I mean, it's still like just we unfortunately we cannot do anything about it. It feels like okay, there's definitely some Putins and some Netanyahus in this world that it's obviously people think they're doing the right thing because if they didn't think they would have stopped them. So now they get to do what they do. So it's crazy and it's disturbing times, but it's also like okay, it's been like this all humanity's history, wars and wars and wars and conflict. So okay, whatever.
Yeah, and so it's like the speed that Doom is coming for humanity.
Definitely, it feels like the darkness is right now. It feels like it's coming from the east.
Yeah, it does so far.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you already said that your composition process for this was, you were rehearsing and playing every single day from once a month on. Was it the your own composition process for this album? And I mean, is it the same thing that you did for your past albums?
I think that this time around is definitely more concentrated, and we've been much more serious about it. The past 3 or 4 albums, it's been I mean, again, Laust he wanted to do something different. Guys, we cannot sit in rehearsing space all day and all week and all month. But like, he's also a real musician, so he's got like this feeling of I mean, he knows he tends to learn the songs quicker than the rest of us. So he's like, I know why he's talking like that. But on the other hand, it's not that. composition itself. It's the emotion is in it. It's where you find out, okay, what's the lyrics, and it's definitely something about getting to know each other, not just playing the songs, but getting where are we? Are we on the same page? That's we've done a lot more of that with this album, definitely.
Yeah, and maybe that's why it sounds better than your last albums, maybe.
I think so. I think that also, yeah, you're right. Just totally straight sound wise, this album is a lot better sounding. Just objectively seen. We went to a great drum room in another part of Denmark with a guy called Jacob Hansen, who's done the Volbeat albums, and he's done the Arch Enemy, a lot of Arch Enemy, a lot of heavy metal. He's got a drum room that when Lars put up his drums over there, he was like, this is the best place I've ever played. It was like, he said that the harder he hit, the more sound, whereas in your normal studios, it's like, well, the more the sound implodes, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So this was definitely something that put that set the bar up. And so we really had to, okay, the drum sounds this great? Okay, this is gonna be great. So we worked hard on this one, and it's something about having confidence in the compositions, confidence in that you actually have the patience to keep on keeping on. And sometimes it works, and sometimes you want to do it quick and let's go to the next one. But this time around, you were like, hey man, easy, patience.
Yeah, and I think you seem fairly happy with the result of it.
Definitely, I'm very proud of it, and it's been in the can since May, so we've had a couple of months to listen to it on and on, and it's still very, very lovely and still sounds very fresh.
Yeah, that's true. It sounds like D.A.D.
Mm.
from the 21st century. That's
Yeah.
really great. Um,
Obrigado, obrigado.
for this album, you wrote 40 new songs since I Pray for the Loud, and then from those 40, you chose the best 14. How was the process of selecting the songs?
First of all, for the first time, it's actually been a strange experience because the first 10, 12, 15 songs we wrote, they were so bad. None of the songs on the album, and it was like, what are we doing? But while we were in the middle of it, it was like, yeah, it's great enough, it's good enough. But then again, you can actually measure your confidence in the sense that we didn't call the producer. We actually went and made demos of the songs without calling anyone. So we were just trying to figure out where we were going. We had it was like a private moment, a private year in composing for us. So somewhere inside us, we knew it wasn't good enough. And when we then presented the demos for the producer, he said, like, guys, I love you, but this is shit. so we had to keep on keeping on. And every other time we've made an album, it's been like one good song, a couple of bad ones, two good songs, three bad ones, kind of thing, going on and off, hot and cold, hot and cold. This time around, it was really, really bad up until 2023. But as I said, we spent the time wisely in the sense that we are trying to get closer to each other, trying to find out what's really going on inside us.
Yeah, and maybe those songs were also not as good as the others, especially because it was during the pandemic era and stuff.
Definitely, you're right. There was a lot of stuff that actually, when suddenly, are you gonna overcompensate for something, or are you gonna hide and just play a little rock and roll? And just like, what's going on with the world? What's going on with actually our job, our way of living? Because back in Denmark, at least, it was like everything was shut down. No concerts, no festivals, no one were allowed to go out and have a beer. And we spent 35 years rehearsing to get people inside and have a good time and play some rock and roll. And suddenly that was totally gone. It's been, you're right, is you were shaking up a bit. It was like, okay, what is rock and roll for us at the moment? And it took almost a year to find out.
Yeah, and in the end, it eventually paid off. Um,
Definitely.
and what about lyrically? What are you trying to say in this album? What does this album talk about?
I recently just found out that maybe this. I think that this song is there's there's war and there's love, and then there's trying to find out who are we now. So there's like three kinds of lyrics on this album, and sometimes even they mix up. Um, there's always been some kind of meta going on with D.A.D. It's like we really love to make songs about the way the life of an artist. And the last song on the album, for instance, "Still Here, I'm Still Here," is definitely a song, and maybe the only song on the album that kind of reflects on the 40th years. But this song's about just finding out, whoa, we went through 40 years living off a dream, living on a dream, living with a dream. Wow. So that was like, because art it's fleeting. You don't know what's going on. You cannot just work. You cannot, like a carpenter, just work your way through it. Yeah, sometimes you have to give up. Sometimes you're in the shower and say, oh shit, the hit is here. It's you don't really know. So you've thrown yourself into your destiny in a way, and that's the song. That's what the song is about. Another song called "Keep Their Mother Down." That's a song about us being the rehearsing space and just trying to, please, can you be positive? I know life's hard, but please, let's find out if we can find a riff, and then we turn that into a song in a lot much bigger way. But it's like started off, with just us being us.
Yeah, DD have always had that capacity of writing songs about being an artist, and that's just
Yeah.
brilliant. And also about mocking yourselves even
Definitely
in the
mocking,
past.
but also just give it a funny angle, just to say, okay, wildly enough, we are having a so-called easy life, being artists, living off
Yeah.
it, and then finding out, but why is it so hard to have an easy life?
Yeah, and I'll come back to your 40th anniversary later.
Mm.
Right now, still focus more on Speed of Darkness. What about your vocal performance? Did you try any new techniques, anything new for this album?
No, I mean, it's everything is moving. I'm trying everything out all the time. Mostly, I want just to keeping on singing. So then when I felt that there was some kind of break going on with D.A.D., I really felt the need to make a solo album just to be able to sing. And some of the way that I'm singing on my solo albums has transpired a little bit into D.A.D. because I really, really love when I get to sing more than to scream, of course. That's a typical singer's way of putting it. I'm getting old. but but actually, it was a great journey for me to do the solo stuff, in the sense of to find another voice, and then I brought some of that voice into D.A.D. as well now, and it gives a bit more variety and a bit more styles, and it tends to, and this I think is what it's all about. It becomes a little more closer. It becomes a little more closer to who I am and where we're going.
Yeah, and you don't need to always be screaming like you once did, like in "I won't cut
Yeah,
my hair" and stuff.
yeah, 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 exactly.
Now, as you just said, 2 days ago you played in São Preto e Prata of Casino Estoril. What were your thoughts on that show and on the Portuguese crowd? That it was a sold off show, I think.
Yeah, well, it was sold out. The best thing about the Portuguese shows, which is not happening anywhere else in the world, is that they are lulling, lo 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 lo, not just Sleep My Day Away, but also Point of View and Grow Pay. They are lulling, lo 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 lo, and it's perfect. It's the only place in the world where they really do that. So it's a great big thing for us, and it's funny because we played more or less this show all summer, and we played Point of View as the fourth or the fifth song in the set, and it's like in Denmark or in Scandinavia, it's like, yeah, that's another hit from No Fuel, yeah, great guys. Whereas it was like in Denmark, it's like, okay, yeah, and in Portugal, whoa. So it was funny to that the roof went off already in the fourth song or so, because the Point of View is a big thing in Portugal.
Yeah, maybe also could be because you don't play here that often in Denmark. You play, so the people that go to your shows are maybe be more tired of listening to the classics.
Exactly. Yeah, that they definitely heard that song long more. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and what about other shows? Which are your touring plans for the album?
Okay, right in a couple of weeks or so, we're going to Norway. No, we're going to Sweden and Finland and then Norway and then back to Sweden. And then we're going to play a big sold out arena show here in Copenhagen. And then we're going to do a little more Sweden. And then we're going all the way down, but not further than Milan, actually, this time around. So we're going to play not the biggest European tour, maybe 10 or 12 dates in Europe, mostly Germany. And so all in all, I think we're maybe 30, 35 shows after in the fall. And then next year, some big shows for the album in Denmark, Australia, and a couple of things that are not yet lined up. And then we'll be back in Portugal. I hope this summer because I talked a lot with the promoter, and I really hope we'll come down next summer.
Yeah, and that would be lovely. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to go to Strion this past weekend, but it would be lovely to see you next year.
You should have been there, but we'll
Yeah,
come
I
down.
should. Yeah, that's true. That's on me. As you already said, 2024 marks the 40th anniversary of D.A.D. Now, how would you describe the last 4 years on which you have lived under the Disneyland law?
Okay, it's been a very long journey, first of all, but also it seems like we're doing what we always done, trying to get closer and further in the what you would call the soul of an artist, trying to find if we have the soul of an artist. I think maybe that's been the journey, and I think that maybe even time has not been such a thing that it has been like overwhelming in any way. It's been like it's overwhelming when you've made an album and you toured and you toured and then you toured. Then it's overwhelming to go back into the studio. Okay, are we gonna do an album again? Then it's overwhelming, but it's like that's every third year or so. Because as I mentioned before, it's really, really hard work to get closer and to find out what's really us at the moment. It's not something we can do easily. It's what you need to do because that's the only way you can survive, only way you can actually feel dynamic and feel alive. So there's a lot of small bumps, and suddenly it was 40 years. Looking back at it, of course, you can see that we've been working hard. That's what I can see now. What felt like an easy job, I can now see. Whoa, we were on the ball all the time. We were just either rehearsing, playing, or touring. And it's only the last 5 or 6 years that we've even taken a couple of months off. So 40 years of hard work. That's actually what I'm looking at, and I'm totally proud of it, and totally grateful because I can feel now that we are standing on something, that we are growing out of something that's really worth coming from, so to speak.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. I mean, the last four
Mm.
years, a lot of great songs, a lot of great tunes throughout your whole journey. And if
Yeah.
you had to choose like one moment that to consider to be your highest or your proudest moment, which one would it be?
Whoa, I cannot see. I'm a goldfish. I cannot remember a thing. When the last time that apart from making this album and finishing this album, where I really felt proud, actually, that's what I think back of, and that's what I think about the most is the European tour we did in 2019, because we came to Lisbon as well and played a big show, but that was like we were playing, I don't know, 35, 40 shows in a row, and it was just being so immersed in music for such a long time with fans that really know that we're in dialogue with them, real fans, because this schizophrenic career where we are like big stars in Denmark, you don't really get that dialogue in that sense because it's big shows. Whereas when you do clubs like 1,500 people, 3,000 people in Europe, then you can actually, you're in some kind of a connection. So to have that dialogue almost every night, it really makes it worthwhile. It makes all the hard work worthwhile. And then finding out that, yeah, it's like we have like not a bed to lie on. How can I? Oh, I need a better picture. We just have a foundation in Europe, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, and I mean, and you've been doing this professionally for maybe how long? The
Yeah,
full your whole career?
I mean, I think that we lived off of it for 35 years. So we lived the dream for 35 years at least, and it's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, but I mean, when you know when you have the quality to do it, I mean, you're gonna do it forever.
Exactly. And we don't know, we never knew if we had the quality, but we knew that whenever we went back to the rehearsal space, there was nothing there, no tours lined up, no nothing, no champagne, no nothing. And then suddenly, one rainy Tuesday, there's a song. And then the Wednesday, there's another song. That's the magic. And that's why we do it, because the magic, I mean, you never know when you're creative, but it turns out that when we're in the same room, we're creative. It's not always good songs, but we are making songs.
Yeah, and that's really important. And
Yeah.
also that's maybe what kept the band with such a stable lineup for such a long time. I mean, you had like one lineup change, I think, throughout the 40 years.
I think so too. I think that we're lucky that we ended up on this shelf with each other so early. And I think that uh, being able to live off it and also have like a local economy, so to speak, because we're bigger stars in Denmark, we've got a big local economy. That also makes, so we're not doing anything for the money. We are doing it because, I mean, we can wait until the songs are good enough, so to speak. And that's maybe that's a big thing also. But also, I think we're lucky that maybe our moms and dads brought us up in a way that we could almost stand each other for 40 years.
Yeah, that's been really lucky for
Yeah,
you guys. And
yeah,
speaking of all of this, I think you have a new book coming out on
yeah,
November the 7th.
yeah.
Um, I think it's going to talk about all of these memories from this past 40 years and more, maybe. What can you say about the
It's
book?
not it's such it's this not a book looking back too much, but it's looking back on my personal life, and it's funny to be able to talk about your life, and it's funny to be able to have all kinds of opinions about how to live your life. And I think it's a great thing to be able to just sit and talk. Like maybe I did that 20 Wednesdays. I was just talking to a journalist. But there's definitely some new angles on the whole D.A.D thing, and new angles on how to be an artist, why you're an artist, and new angles is definitely all the way back to how it was and how it is. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I hope it also has an English version because I'll love
I really
to
hope
read
so
it in
too.
English.
And it's funny because the last one didn't. I I don't know
Yeah.
what happened, and I'm I will not sign this contract unless you promise me an English version. But still, they're like, yeah, yeah, maybe so, yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, always the small lines in the end of the contract.
Exactly.
Now, one thing that I found really curious is that the Danish National Museum held an exhibition dedicated to your career. How did that chance present itself? I mean, it's such a huge honor, I think.
It really is a huge honor, and it's funny because it's something you would never have imagined. The guy who's the big boss at the museum, he's an old D.A.D fan, so that was one that helped a bit. But the museum themselves really needed something up to date kind of thing. So they to see us as storytellers for the past 40 years was a good idea, and of course they have their way of communication and we have our rock star way of communication. So it was a funny thing to try to merge the two ways of presenting ourselves. The funny thing is, D.A.D has never been like a political or society commenting band in that sense. But on the other hand, we are definitely society made. I mean, we are definitely made of our times either way. And because we were a little in the front, so to speak, that we were a little avant-garde in the sense of playing hard rock before hard rock was anything in Denmark. Then, of course, we're a little further, and we have fresher angles, even though it was the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. Our angles has been so we thought, okay, but if you just focus on us, then you'll get the feeling of the 40 years. And they said, no, 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 no. We'll have an old phone booth. We will have news reels from back then, and blah blah blah. So it definitely became a museum thing. But we got to present a D.A.D through the times. It was great, and it was also pretty healing for the four of us to see that we actually, whoa, we've made something, and we made something that is now in a museum.
Yeah, it's been a pretty huge thing, I think. Um, Now, just to finish, one question that I usually ask to artists that have some back catalog like D.A.D and yourself. If you had to rate all the albums that D.A.D ever released, on which position would Speed of Darkness be?
Um, because I've done this many years, I would say that No Fuel, Everything Glows, Speed of Darkness. That's where my love is in that sense, because I think they're the freshest, and that most stuff happened. But that's only because I'm an old man and I know how things will look, and I anticipate how things will look. But right now, of course, I'd say that Speed of Darkness is on the top in that
Mhm.
sense. That is what talks to me. But yeah, I'll
Yeah,
give it a chance, but it'll probably end up as third.
mhm. Yeah, and I mean it's a closer one to your heart, so probably as the biggest value right now. Also curious to see that you didn't mention Risking It All in your top three.
Definitely, that's because top. Okay, risking it all,
I
and
mean it's my favorite album of maybe my favorite art rock album of all
yeah,
time. It's so brilliant.
risking it all. Well, it is definitely the one that's most connected to Speed of Darkness, and I will tell you why. Because with No Fuel Left for the Pilgrims came out, it was a very narrow D.A.D, and suddenly it blew out in the world, and everybody wanted us, and we immensely popular. So what we did was go back home to Denmark. Okay, they like us. Maybe they like more of us, not more of the same, but more of us. So Risk and All is more spread out. It's more diverse. It has different kind of songs on it. We just wanted to show who we were, and stuff didn't really happen for us when we showed who we were. They wanted us to be like this,
This trip,
you
yeah.
know. Yeah. So Speed of Darkness is because we spent so much time on it, because we made so many songs, we could choose the best songs. They didn't maybe fit into a style or whatever, but just so this is a wider presentation of D.A.D. Speed of Darkness, as well as Risking It All. So the reason why I didn't pick Risking It All is that No Fuel has made an impact, and Everything Glows really did take that whole spreading out as up to a new art form. We were totally alone in when we did Everything Glows, and Everything Glows didn't really make it. For instance, in Portugal, there was not really. I
Mhm.
mean, but yeah, a lot of words. I hope you get my meaning.
Yeah, I do. I mean, and also No Fuel Metro Film is also a brilliant album, I think, as well as Speed of Darkness. Well, yes, but I think we've run out of time here. Just it was great to have you here. Would you like to send any message to your Portuguese fans?
Oh, definitely. Portugal, and this is not a lie. Portugal is definitely a big love, and it's a it's a home in Europe for us, and it's always been a place where people were lo or more than anywhere else in the world. And again, there's nothing wrong with the Sardinias and Vino Verde.